Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to this edition of 30-Minute Tech Tools, creating instructional videos students will watch. Our presenters today are Sara O'Keefe, Embry Jacobs, and Dr. Karina Christopher. Ladies, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, then we can get started with the presentation.
Good morning. Thanks for being with us this crazy week. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come to our presentation. I know how it is. My name is Sara O'Keefe, and I work in the IDC. I'm an instructional technologist. Before I came to KET, I worked, or good grief, to EKU. I was working at KET for 19 years. So I've worked in video for a long time, and I produce for PBS Learning Media. So that's some of my background, and we're going to speak to some of the things, best practices on how to create video. So I'll hand it over to my Embry.
Hey, good morning. I'm Embry Jacobs. I also work in the IDC. I'm an instructional designer, and I'm here to just support Sara in talking about creating instructional videos that students will watch. We get to see a lot of instructional videos over at the IDC, and our goal, our mission is to help you figure out how you can make videos that your students will watch and are effective for your instruction. So looking forward to speaking with you all today.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Karina Christopher, and this is my 12th year at EKU. And I teach in the Department of Applied Human Sciences. I teach primarily in food and nutrition, and I have made bad videos and I have made what I hope are really good videos that you'll see some examples of today. And so I think evolved as a video producer, and it's definitely not an easy task, but if you're up for it, I think it can make it really impactful for your students. So I think it's a great opportunity for learning. Sara, I think you're still muted.
Yep, there's number one. So it's totally laid back presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We can stop and talk about if any ideas pop up. I think this is also a great opportunity for others to talk about what they have done in their courses and what's been successful, or maybe what hasn't been successful, if you need any suggestions for things that we might be able to help you with. So when I first started thinking about video, Jason, who I think is on the call, and I did a research paper on video and what's best practices as far as length and that kind of thing. And so you'll see quotes from our research brief throughout the presentation. So as we know, we work specifically with online right now, but other people as well on face-to-face. So what's the best way to connect with your students is really using a video, where face-to-face interaction is obviously limited. That helps bridge that gap between students and instructors. And it's so important to create a welcoming environment for your students, especially since it's not a face-to-face course, to make them feel like they're comfortable in the course, that they're getting the information they need, and it's not just a video to watch and it's not really tied to the course. So we're really going to kind of go through those steps and talk about, you don't want a student just to lose interest in a video. And if there's nothing tied back to that video, why are they watching it? So we really want to make sure that all the videos are very purposeful and they're making those connections with students. So you can advance. So where to start? A lot of times I know it's so easy just to turn on the camera and go, just like you are in a lecture face-to-face. And just like, yeah, this is what I would do face-to-face. Why wouldn't it work on online? So that's a little bit different. So in my research that I found, really planning ahead will save you so much time in the long run. So you need to think about your objectives for the video before you even start. Divide your material into small sections instead of trying to fit everything in a 45-minute video. Maybe think about what are the most important things that I need to make sure the students understand, and they might not get it in a reading, but a video might be the best way to get those ideas across to these students. So you need to think about that too. Like, not everything has to be in a video. You can put some information in a reading. Maybe you're pulling out terms and you just want those in flashcards in your course. Like, there's different ways to bring information. So not everything has to be a video. So create key points and terminology that you want to make sure students are understanding. I think focusing on that is really beneficial. And developing smooth transitions between topics, and how everything kind of fits together. So if you're going to do some short videos, you can pull like a 45-minute lecture, but look at it and see what is the most important information here that I want students to go away with, and maybe create 2 videos. Another thing we don't really necessarily want to do is just break it up to 10 videos, right? Because then you're kind of back into the same place where you're kind of exhausting with a lot of videos. So I think different ways of bringing this information is interesting. And like I said, some terms will be done better in a video or in like flashcards. So you kind of think about what you're trying to teach and what's the best modality to get it there. And yeah, plan for ways for students to interact with video content. I think that's super important and something we need to think about. Just sitting and watching isn't always the best way for folks to remember information that's in a video, especially if it's a lot. And I think that's where it's really important to really focus your topics in any kind of video content that you're producing. Embry, do you have anything else that you would add to that?
And in regards to planning for ways to students to interact with the video, that can be, you can get creative with that. So there are ways to actually embed questions into video. So you can do that, we can help do that at the IDC with some of our software, Camtasia, or you can even do that in Stream. So in Microsoft Stream, you can embed, quiz questions directly in the video itself. But I think that's kind of the first place my brain goes when I'm like, how will students interact with the video? Oh, well, put questions in the video. But I think that there's other more creative ways as well. You can, ask a question in the video that students have to think about and maybe reply to in a discussion board, or you can reference a reading. You can say, hey, make sure you review this reading or have this reading open while you watch this video. So you can get creative with that. I think there's lots of different ways to involve the learners in the instruction by just asking them questions and asking them to be engaged in some way or another. It doesn't have to necessarily be a multiple choice quiz, but having them reflect on the video content at some point and during the module or during the week, I think can be really powerful.
And Karina, do you have anything to add? Because I know in your planning, could you talk a little bit what you do and what worked and maybe what didn't work?
So specifically, most recently, I was doing a food culture and systems class. And when I was planning it, I wanted to give students, they had a book to read, right? They had other videos to watch on YouTube. But what I really wanted to give them was the story that I wanted to tell was how important it was to identify other cultures and how important it was for students to take that into their own lives in a meaningful way. And so when I was planning, I was looking at what the objectives were, but I was also looking at what is the most in-your-face way that I can put this in a real-world context. So students watch the video and they say, oh, I get how this works in the real-world setting. So for example, I wanted them to hear from somebody from another culture about their food and how that food was meaningful to them. I wanted them to hear from somebody in the field working in food systems and how much of a challenge it is for minorities to have their own food ways. So when I was planning, one of the biggest things I wanted was who was the most impactful person that could come in and help me describe this in a way that was, students could take that then home and say, oh, I heard from somebody from Africa and what their experience was with their culture. And I think one thing that is really hard for faculty from my perspective is everything I say in class is important. So how do I get it into a really small piece, but really a big bang in their face that they can then watch and later say, oh my gosh, that was so cool what this person said, that statement that they made. I get now how hard it is because a real person talked about it. So for my videos, I wanted to plan for having as many guests as I could, which is very challenging because a lot of people don't like being on videos. But if I couldn't get somebody that was coming in, then I made it relatable to me. Like, this is me as an individual, not just a faculty member, but a person who eats and breathes and participates in the food system. And how does that impact me? And now you think about how it impacts you. So really trying to make my videos as real world relatable as possible. That was what was really important for me.
And I think that really brings something special to the course. Like, but it doesn't have to be in, demonstrations and that thing. And we're going to talk about a little bit more of that. So if you want to, what's next? Okay. So it's so important. And I think a lot of folks find it really difficult, and I get it. Like, being on camera is hard. But you just need to be yourself. And you'll see Karina does a great job of that. Like, students really respond well to just casual language. Like, you don't need to script it. When you're going in, I would suggest having bullet points just to make sure that you're covering what you want to cover. Because sometimes when the camera goes on, thoughts will leave your mind. And so it's nice to have something to kind of keep you on track. But say it in your voice. And I think that is so, so important. Yes, I agree, Kelly. Yeah, casual and authentic comes across so well. And also another thing that we've found is storytelling. Using experiences from your life that you have in this field is really going to resonate with students. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, I can see, just like that real world connection Karina's talking about, right? You're making these, this information real to these students and how it's actually used in real world instances. Maybe there's funny stories that you've had where things didn't work out. And I think those are just as valuable as the ones that do. And show enthusiasm. I know that's really hard too, because when you're on the camera, it's just like, there's too many things to remember. Am I hitting all my points? But if you're excited, then they're going to feel that excitement. And that makes such a difference. And I know this is really hard, and I'm happy to help with any strategies. But yeah, just be yourself and use that authentic self. I think it means so much in these videos.
I recently worked on a development with a psychology instructor, and something that she did for each module, it was a fully online course. For each module, she created a short introduction video to the module where she kind of just introduced what they were going to be talking about during that week, what the topics were, what the objectives of the week were. But something that she did, or she did a couple of different things, but like for each of those videos, she had a different background of like a different animal. She was teaching an animal sciences class. And so she kind of referred to, oh, I chose this animal and it's relevant to this content or what you're going to be reading. And then there was occasionally like she wore special earrings, and she said, I wore these earrings in honor of, what's happening in this course this week. And I think really small little details like that, that just bring your humanness to the course, really increase your teaching presence when we're thinking about that community of inquiry, right? Having that teaching presence in the course, showing your students you're a real person, you're really there, you have interests, and this content matters to you, I think can be super impactful. And those videos were literally like 90 seconds long, but I thought that they were amazing and such a great addition to the course. And it honestly wasn't a huge commitment on her part. It was really just her coming in, showing her personality, showing her enthusiasm for what the learners were going to be taking in that week.
That's great. Oh, just another tip, talking about really focusing your videos on main ideas, because students can tell if it's not really relevant to the course and they're going to lose interest. And so you just want to make sure that everything is directly linked to the subject matter, which I'm sure you all know already, but I just wanted to kind of put that in, and that studies show that is the case. So keeping students engaged, that is a difficult thing. We know videos are getting shorter and shorter. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. How do you keep people engaged? So the ideal video length is 6 minutes. And studies have shown that cognitive overload starts after that. So you're going to start losing the attention after 6 minutes, which is not a long period. I totally get it. But I think it's really important to keep that in mind, because 60 minutes, I think, on online is really difficult. It's really difficult. And I think just either breaking up those videos, there's different ways you can do it. You can chapter videos, so that students can go, if they want to review the video again, they can go to specific points in the video. So there's different things you can do. But I would always try to just, my husband always says, cut out the fat, right? So just get to the nitty gritty. Make sure that like you're hitting the points that you want to hit, and that you're not just going on and on. And then you can also bring that information in other ways. So like I've talked about with readings, or maybe there's an interactive, the IDC, we're happy to help. And there's a lot of other things that we can do. We're not going to talk about them all today, but if you're interested in learning about what are some of the other options, then please reach out and we'd be happy to talk to you about that. Then, of course, connecting video content to learning activities, which we're going to talk about next. So it just shows connected learning activities such as small group discussions, reflections, etc., will help students get that information from these videos, because they're actually having to go back, look through the videos, find the information, or they're going to have to look for the terminology, and just to get that back in their minds, instead of just watching a video and then moving on. Like, it actually is trying to get that information different ways throughout the course.
And I want to add here too, while we're talking about, making it relatable and then having activities, is, a lot of the focus of this program is on an online class, but it can also be a really great way for an in-person class, especially if you're doing like a semi-flipped or a total flipped class, because you can have the student go and watch this video that really gets them interested in the topic. So if they come in person to a class, they already have their juices sort of flowing with what they're interested in. And you could even start class with the discussion in person. So I think, even if you're doing an in-person class, having a really impactful video that they watch to prepare them is really impactful as well. So I just wanted to add that as an aside.
And Jamie, don't feel bad. Like, if you want us to help, we're totally cool with like, chaptering. There's so many different things that we can do. So yeah, it is not the worst. No, do not feel bad at all. Like, that's why we're all learning together, right? So,
what is it, the Razzies that they give? There's the Oscars for the good videos. I feel like I should
yeah.
get an instructional Razzie. So
No. I'm not shaming anyone today. We are all learning together. So, but again, if reach out, if you have a video and you're like, I really, and something else that I think is really beneficial, whenever I do a video, I mean, it's like my heart and soul, right? This is my video. Show it to somebody else and let them look at it, and let them say, hey, I think you might be able to cut like a minute here. You might be able to do this a different way. I think that's really beneficial too, to have somebody else take a look at it that's not you, because I know even I had Embry look at my video that we're going to show later, and she's like, well, you need to put dissolves here, or something. So it's good to get that feedback from others so that they can say, this I was really into, but I kind of lost me here. Maybe we could do some interactive or some element with this, if that makes sense. So if you have any other peers that could watch it, I think that's super beneficial.
And I would also just chime in and say that, like, we know 6 minutes is when cognitive overload starts, but sometimes you might need more than 6 minutes. And so it's like, what are the strategies, like chaptering the video or, breaking it into 2 pieces? It's like, what are the strategies around, like, I need to show them how to fill this out and it's going to take me longer than 6 minutes. And maybe that's even something as natural as inside of the video saying something like, pause and take a break and then come back to this at a later time. And again, using the actual technical chaptering inside of video video streaming services can help with that too. So I think we have to acknowledge that we can't always make every video 6 minutes or less. That's just going to not be possible. But we can be aware of cognitive overload starts at 6 minutes. So maybe chaptering a video down into 6-minute sections or less can be a way to get around that.
Or how are you starting your video? You know, it was what you really want in the beginning. I mean, you know, you kind of have to think about like, what are you really trying to get across, and also organization of your video. So I know it's all important, but you know, if there's like 3 things they've got to get out of this because it's going to be on the final or whatever, you can think about where you're putting that information in the video too. So I think Embry already kind of touched on some of these, but some meaningful learning activities that you can do is like small group discussions, written reflections, Q&As, embedded interactive quizzes, and knowledge checks, which I actually just did for an MPH course in Camtasia. I use Camtasia and I put the videos in there, and you can embed quizzes right in there. And they don't have to be graded. They can just be knowledge checks, which is what the professor wanted. I don't know if Phyllis is in here. But yeah, and so that worked really, really well. And so, and we just called them knowledge checks. So they didn't feel like, oh gosh, it's a quiz, I have to like, you know, do really well. And so it was just a knowledge check. They could take it as many times as they wanted and then move on. So that seemed really beneficial. And you can put as many as you want in the video and they can go right there. Oh, Phyllis, there she is. So Phyllis, if you want to talk about if you want to mention anything about how the quizzes are going. I guess it's only been week 1. How are students doing?
That I don't know yet, but I am thinking that they will do great on them. It just helps a lot to break it up and to see it is just a learning check to see if they got what you thought you were telling them. So I really appreciated it, and I think they will too. I'll give you some specific feedback as soon as I get more.
Awesome. Thanks, Phyllis.
So Sarah, quick question. Who
Yeah.
has access to Camtasia on campus?
See, that's a good question. I'm not sure how those licenses go. So I'll have to look into that. I know we just got the new version, so that was very exciting. We'd had like an ancient version for a long time. So I can definitely check into that. I don't know if there's like a Q&A that I can send to folks like that are on here, and you know, and I can let you know where you can get that.
Sure. I'll upload the recording and any supporting material to YouTube and to our website by Friday. And so if there's anything else you want to include or send out to participants, I can certainly do that for you.
Mm-hmm. And does Canvas have that built in? That's a good question. Do you know anything? No. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Ooh, actually, you know, I don't know. Before I say a hard no on that, I'm not sure, but I do not think
we can check.
Yeah, we can check.
Yeah, we'll check on that too.
But I do know that everybody in the IDC, all the IDs in the IDC do have Camtasia. So if you have ideas, some preliminary ideas, you can reach out to us or reach out to our director, James Morris, and he can get you in touch with us and we can definitely help.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, we're all waiting to see what Canvas Studio looks like because there's been so many promises. So coming soon.
Yeah, us as well. So this is going beyond the lecture. I know not everyone is, you know, this will fit with your courses, but this is where Karina really went above and beyond with her course and did some really awesome demonstrations, interviews with, oh, did I miss a thing? Interviews with experts in the field, on-site or classroom examples, video collaborations with community partners. So we'll go ahead and watch the video, Karina, and then you can maybe do some more comments or answer any questions that we have. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just a short reel of some that she created. And Jason's on here. He produced them.
Yeah, Jason was the mastermind. I just went in and did my thing, and Jason made it wonderful.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Food Culture and Systems. I asked Grace to pick a recipe that she felt like expressed her culture well. So what did you pick?
So I picked the spinach stew. Efforiro is what we call it.
I can smell the crawfish and the beef. And today they're going to share with us more about how some foods influence health from the perspective of South Korea. So what are we making today?
Hey, well, we are making seaweed soup.
So we've been simmering for a while and it smells so good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, it's so good. How would you define food insecurity?
Well, I'll give you the technical definition first.
Okay.
So food insecurity is the limited or inconsistent access to enough food for an active and healthy life.
So we have a diverse lineup and network ecosystem of farmers across East, Central, and West Kentucky. So one, you're going to have individuals who are gleaning regional traditions.
Let's start our journey this week, understanding food stories and food history. Enjoy.
So
It's always really awkward to like see yourself in a video, which is why I think a lot of faculty are totally avoiding this, because I told Sarah, I was like, oh, I hate seeing myself in videos. But when I was planning this, of course, I had a lot more people that I wanted to come in and speak. And that is one challenge to making videos where you have demonstrations or you have guest speakers, is finding the time for you and for the speaker to come in. So that was a challenge. Like Ashley Smith, who was my dream speaker, I just totally fangirled on her. And, you know, it was like my dream. And I think if this was an in-person class, that I would have wanted this video, because I know she's so busy, she couldn't come every semester. So I could have used this video every semester. But one thing that I'll say is your speakers that you come in, or the demonstrations, they're people who might be uncomfortable in front of a camera too. And so one of the big things I would tell them when they came to the studio with Jason, and by the way, Jason, I mean, he's amazing, was this is just a conversation. Don't think of this as a video. Don't think of this as you're being recorded. This is just a conversation between you and me. Just share with me your food, share with me your experience. And don't even look at the camera. I mean, Jason had, I don't know how many cameras, so many views. And I was just like, let's ignore it. There was no script. I did send them questions ahead of time of what I wanted them to answer. But there were lots of times when we went off questions because they said something and I was like, wow, tell me more about that. And it became this it is this organism that was just this conversation. And you know, you could tell some of the speakers at the beginning were very uncomfortable, but after it was just this discussion, you could tell their whole body language was like, oh, okay, this is just a conversation. She is really genuinely interested in what I'm saying. She does want to know more. And so it became really, really fun. I know the students were so jealous that they didn't get to try the food, which I understand completely, but it was a really great way to give them a chance to experience what real people were saying. And it became very genuine for the students. So any questions from anybody about those videos?
Where were they recorded?
Jason, it was over in the Commonwealth building. Jason's has a studio over there.
19th floor of the Commonwealth building.
And as Embry said, there's other ways you can do it too. Like if there's an expert that's not close by, I mean, you can record a Zoom interview. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it without the studio too. And students are, you know, they're so used to seeing Zoom, it's not going to be anything different for them. And there's a lot of different ways that we can also like doctor that video, you know, and add titles and lower thirds and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Yeah, there's the One Button Studio and Fictal. And, you know, so yeah, I know we're running out of time. So I think we could talk about this forever, but yeah, why video? Well-crafted instructionals contribute to improve student perception of the instructor and enhance motivation. So that's the main reason we do it. So here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that sparked an idea. We love that. Bring that to us. Hopefully we can help you create whatever you'd like for your courses. I think Karina wouldn't mind if you have any questions to shoot them her way about how she organized everything. And of course, Embry and I are always happy to help. So.
Well,
And can
fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
a plug if you're interested. So I have a follow-up session next Thursday. That's best practice of actually doing the production, actually producing the videos. So this was great that it had all the background, all the ideas, all the kind of the pre-production, the planning process. So next week, if you're interested to follow up, I'll do one on actually best practices of recording and making yourself look and sound as good as possible.
And I've actually dropped that link into the chat, but Embry, I didn't have a chance to drop your link into the chat. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your session as well?
Sure. On April 4th, so kind of a follow-up to these two, I'm going to be doing a session on using Canva to create video. So if you liked the video that Sara created that was in this presentation, that was created in Canva. So kind of just a tool to actually use to create some video. It has some really great options as far as recording yourself and recording a presentation. So I'm going to talk about how to get into Canva, how to use your EKU account to get an educator account. That's going to open up a lot more resources. So it's going to kind of just be a follow-up to these two of actually using a tool to dive in and maybe make some instructional videos yourself.
Thank you so much, Jason and Embry. I'd like to thank everyone for your time and attention. As I mentioned, this recording and any resources that the presenters want to share will be posted to our website by Friday. And this video should go up on our YouTube later today. So thank you all for attending, and we'll see you at next week's 30-minute Tech Tools session.